Good morning. I have an article up. I promised you last night that there'd be a piece on Darqueze Dennard, 49ers Nickelback, who delivered such an important 18 snap contribution last season. He's back with the team this year, and yesterday got to talk with Darqueze Dennard one-on-one after practice. So this is a feature-like article that I think shines a light on one of the many unheralded pinch hit contributions that the 49ers needed to go on their clutch run at the end of the season. Remember, it was a tightrope act for the 49ers down the stretch run of that 2021 season. And this was technically in 2022 because the 49ers signed Dennard on January 4th ahead of the game against the Rams. But I'm not going to spoil too much of this. We'll talk a little bit about this. We'll talk a bit about the 49ers Nickelback outlook. But most of all, I would love for you to read this piece. If you're not part of The Athletic yet, go ahead and join through the link that is right underneath me. I don't know if you can click on that, though, so you may have to go into the chat section or later on to the comment section where I'll pin it up there. So Darqueze Dennard, let's talk about him because he is the favorite to start at Nickelback for the 49ers in this 2022 season. Last year, Dennard was with three different teams. It was an injury-riddled campaign. He didn't get any playing time until Week 16 with the New York Giants. It was about 5 or 6 special team snaps, maybe a little bit more than that. So it wasn't a fun season for Darqueze Dennard, who turned 30 last year. This is an 8-year NFL vet. Let's put that into context right now. Won the Jim Thorpe Award in college. That goes to the best defensive back in the country. That was when he was at Michigan State. They won the Rose Bowl against Stanford. Then he went off into the NFL, where he was drafted in the first round by the Cincinnati Bengals. And he's had a good career. There's no doubt about it. Darqueze Dennard, to stick around the NFL for as long as he has, you have to do something right. He just hasn't been as boisterous and as loud as many of the other star cornerbacks, so he's flown a bit under the radar. But anyway, fast forward to 2021. He's injured. He's turned 30. He's fallen out of love with the game of football, as you probably would if you're injured and you felt that you were on the tail end of your career and you weren't getting any playing time because of the injuries and you're bouncing around teams. The Giants release him after those few special team snaps in Week 16, and the 49ers gave Darqueze Dennard a call. They need to beef up their defensive back room because they're in the stretch run. They're in a playoff hunt. They're about to play the Texans, and they could use another body. But they offered Dennard a practice squad spot, and 8-year vet, done a lot of good stuff in the league, former first-round pick. He wasn't so sure. He was like, well, I'm sitting here on the couch. I'm back with my family. I just missed Christmas with them. Practice squad spot. I'll call you guys back. This doesn't sound too appealing to me, is basically what Dennard said at the time. You fast forward past the Texans game last year, and the 49ers landed 4 defensive backs, including their starting nickelback, K'Wan Williams, on the COVID list. And they had a do-or-die game against the Rams in Week 18 coming up. So they called Dennard back, this time with a little bit more urgency. And they tell him, hey, we really, really need you to come join the team because we need an emergency option. We don't know if these guys are going to be back from the COVID list. We're trying to win and make the playoffs. That's what the 49ers tell Dennard. Now, Dennard, he had become disillusioned with football, as I just explained, and he wasn't even really following the standings, especially for a team on the other side of the country. When he heard the word playoffs, that was the first time that he realized the 49ers really, really needed him, and he perked up in the couch, just like I did right now. Playoffs. Wait, you said that you guys can make the playoffs? Now, consider this in context. Dennard has been in the league for 8 years at the time, and he hasn't been to the playoffs since year 2 with Cincinnati back in 2015. So he thought that he could be part of something. So he starts making his phone calls to vet the 49ers. And funny enough, this is a cool little connection before I send you on your way to read this article. Dre Kirkpatrick was Dennard's former teammate with the Cincinnati Bengals, their cornerbacks together there. Dre Kirkpatrick, who, didn't have a great stint with the 49ers, got squashed by, Benjamin on that run in Week 9 against the Cardinals, was released a little bit after that. 49ers fans weren't too thrilled with Dre Kirkpatrick's tenure, but it turns out that he might have had a big role in saving the 49ers season because Darqueze Dennard called his former teammate Dre Kirkpatrick to ask if this 49ers job would be legit, if he should take it, if he liked the staff, if he liked the players, if he liked the culture. And Drake Kirkpatrick said, yes, go and sign with the 49ers. So he called Drake Kirkpatrick. He called Benny Fowler, receiver from Michigan State, teammates with Dennard back in college, was with the 49ers in training camp last year. And he called Tabor Pepper, 49ers long snapper. And everybody gave the 49ers a ringing endorsement. So Dennard signed with the team, learned the playbook overnight. It blew the 49ers away. And then because of a bunch of injuries to Hufanga, to Jaquiski Tartt, obviously K'Wan Williams not being able to play in that game against the Rams because he was still feeling some after effects of the whole COVID thing, it came time for Dennard to have to deliver against the Rams in crunch time. And did he ever deliver? 18 snaps in that fourth quarter and overtime. No catches for Cooper Kupp against him, and only one catch for 12 yards by Tyler Higbee into Dennard's coverage. And obviously, we know how the story ended. And now we know that Dennard is back with the 49ers. In fact, Dennard tweeted this after the season. Shout out to the 49ers. Made me fall in love with football again. He talked about, in our interview, there's so much more that we go through in this feature story. So make sure that you check it out at the link that I put down at the bottom of the screen a little bit ago. It's in the chat section. He talked about the culture that the 49ers have as a football team. And he says, I haven't had something like this. I haven't experienced something like this since I played for Michigan State. And that was 9 years ago. That really struck me because Shanahan and Lynch have tried to build a college style culture. And Dennard, you have all kinds of outside free agents who come in, even the guys who are just there for a cup of coffee, and they verify, yes, that this does feel like a college team. This is nothing like the other 4 teams that I played for in the NFL. So that culture made Dennard fall in love with football again. The winning helps the culture, obviously. I mean, the two, I think, feed hand in hand with each other. But the 49ers, even despite, signing so many star players over the course of the years, it hasn't been a prima donna type of situation in the locker room. They have kept a college-like culture with their football team, which I think is exceptional given how much star power there is on this team. And now, part of that star power, he's not a superstar. And I mean, he is at the tail end of his career, obviously, but he's still an effective, smart player who was able to pick up the playbook of a complicated position. I mean, at Nickelback, there's 7 different techniques in every single coverage for the 49ers, right? So this is not a team that's just playing man all the time. Dennard had to learn so much on the fly. He's a smart player. He's a crafty player. He's obviously had success in this league. And people tend to forget that Dennard was a Thorpe Award winner in college. You don't just go and win the Thorpe Award, the best DB in the country, because you're some kind of unskilled guy. Yes, it was several years ago, but he's managed to stick around in the NFL since then. So because of that, because people tend to forget this kind of stuff, they don't realize that this is another potential weapon for the 49ers in an already loaded secondary. And why don't we take a look at the 49ers depth chart to really illustrate where they might be in this secondary? Because one of the questions is, where will Jason Verrett fit in? A lot of people have been saying, well, he played some slot earlier in his career with San Diego. And to answer that, maybe the 49ers will be thinking about that. But I think that there's so much going on in the slot. It requires a new level of physicality that you don't see on the outside just because you're near that box. To preserve Jason Verrett, I'm not so sure the 49ers are going to want to place him in the slot. So I'll have Darqueze Dennard as the first stringer. He's taken most of the first team reps there at that nickelback position. Obviously, they have Samuel Womack, who they drafted in the 5th round, but Womack's a rookie. There's going to be a learning curve there. I think he's the nickel of the future. But what great bridge to, have over the gap between now and the future than Darqueze Dennard. I mean, it was almost a godsend for the 49ers when the Giants released him, and their own locker room culture resuscitated this guy's career. Other NFL teams aren't getting anything out of him. He was with 3 different football teams last year. And then with the 49ers, he goes and shuts down Cooper Kupp in a game that Cooper Kupp, in a quarter that Cooper Kupp was aiming for the NFL single season receiving record. And remember that Cooper Kupp had also dominated the 49ers in the first half of that football game. So people tend to forget about Darqueze Dennard, and I would recommend that you don't, because I think he's going to be a key player on this 2022 49ers team. And, if you go back to the article, as you obviously should, there's a few other anecdotes there, especially one that comes from the locker room of the Week 18 game against the Rams. Remember, the Rams were kicking the 49ers' ass there over the course of the first half, beating them 17-3. And Ambry Thomas was a little bit down on himself. So just go on and read about what Darqueze Dennard said in that locker room, and you'll be like, whoa, the 49ers are happy they had this veteran presence on their football team in Week 18. All right, the link is going up one more time in the comments section. Today is a 49ers Players Day off, but I'm still headed back into the facility. That's going to happen in about 2 hours. I'm going to go interview some assistant coaches, so that should be a lot of fun. Matt Barrows and I are going to have a piece about that on The Athletic afterwards. And another exciting announcement to make now that more of you are on here. Matt Barrows and I have returned with year, 5, I think now, of our 49ers podcast. So I'm going to put this down in the bottom here. Our 49ers podcast. Here's Catch is back. Another episode just dropped this morning, and I'm going to share the link with you as well for that podcast. I just have to go to Twitter to find it. But Matt Barrows and I talked about everything 49ers related on Here's the Catch, including the offensive line, which is an issue for the 49ers. This is an issue that they're going to have to solve here over the course of the next 5 weeks, because Trey Lance is going to need some protection there up front. So our 49ers podcast on Here's the Catch, Apple link and Spotify link, both of them I am putting in the comment section for you right now. Hopefully you can click on those, or at least you can copy and paste those. Man, there's needs to be a space in between the two. There, that's better. Hopefully that one works. If not, then just go to Twitter and you'll see it right here. I'm going to share the screen with you. And maybe you could listen in on Matt and I talking here really quick. Here, let me play this. If it works.
Guard. The 49ers offensive line. They lost Laken Tomlinson at left guard. They lost Alex Mack to retirement at center. And it looks like they'll be breaking in a new right guard, because Spencer Burford, the 4th-round pick out of San Antonio, has been taking all of the first-team snaps there. So the entire interior offensive line, left guard, center, right guard, is new in front of a new quarterback who's struggling right now, who's only completing 48% of his passes. So for as strong as this roster is overall, very middle of that offense.
Yeah, and I think breaking in a rookie right guard is great. This is probably something they should have done a few years ago. Burford is not perfect, but he's really given them a lot of encouragement that he can be their right guard. A young guy at right guard for the foreseeable future. They haven't had that scenario since Shanahan arrived in 2017. The issue is that they're breaking him in at right guard at the same time that they're breaking in Aaron Banks at left guard, and they're breaking in Jake Brendel at center. So you've got these 3 sort of tenuous spots right in the very front of Trey Lance. And Lance, I can't remember one play in which he's got a comfortable pocket. I mean, he's always under duress, and he's always kind of sliding out. And again, I think that'll benefit him at some point in the future. But right now, it's tough sledding for him. So it's going to be interesting because, like I said, you've got all this talent sort of stacked up on this team, but you've got this matchstick holding that talent up, and they're going against the clock now to kind of get Lance and that starting interior offensive line up to speed before they travel to Chicago to play the Bears.
All right, so here's the catch. Our podcast back for another season, available on The Athletic, Apple, and Spotify. So make sure to check it out. And obviously, I want to make sure that you check out this as well, how Darqueze Dennard's 18 clutch snaps helped forge the 49ers Nickelback outlook. All right. Do we have good questions? Yeah, I'll be talking to all the assistant coaches. I see a couple questions up there. So all the 49ers head assistant coaches are going to be available today. Going to be talking to them. And of course, I'm going to be on instant reaction. I know you guys love it all. Instant reaction, sit down reaction, reaction in hoodies, reaction in Blazers. I don't know if we've done a full suit reaction yet, but I think we may have to wait till game day to do that. You guys love talking about fights. You love talking about position battles. You love talking about Trey Lance, Deebo Samuel's contract. I get it. You're eating up the content. That's why I'm trying to make as much of it as possible. So sub to The Athletic, sub to the channel. That's the drill here. Hit the notification button and be ready for more. Our 2022 49ers coverage is rolling on. Everybody have a great Thursday. Take care.